Hey, Rick.
Okay,
Yes.
we're live.
Oh, are we going straight to to YouTube?
Yes.
We
Okay.
are on YouTube. Go ahead, Lauren.
Okay. I'll call to order tonight's meeting of the Finance Committee. It's Tuesday, February 16th, 2021. The time is 4:30. I'm Lauren McNally, Fifth Ward City Council person and chairwoman for tonight. I'm going to just take roll call for everyone as usual. On tonight's meeting, we have Jennifer Ozinger, Rick Deek, Chief Finley, Anita Davis, Basha Adamzak, Beverly Hosey, Chief Davis, Dawn Turnage, Domain Kitchen, Aaron Bishop, Harry Johnson, Jimmy Hughes, Julius Oliver, Kevin Flynn, Kyle Mizak, Tito Brown, Mike Durkin, Mike Ray, Nikki Posterly, Samantha Turner, Chuck Shasho, Valencia Amaro, and Jean Leeson. I think I got everybody. Okay, we'll start with pending legislation under ordinances. Item number 2 here, for grass cutting. Are there questions for Mr. Durkin? Are you planning on using the same contractors as last year, Mike?
Through the chair so far, yes. They've worked out very well. They're well aware of the process, and so far the price isn't changing. So we're going to be able to, I want to try and keep it again as we have in the past. So yes, to answer your question.
Do you think that you sent over some statistics with this piece or some information
Yes.
that we did a 1,600 or something once. Does that mean like we're only cutting these lots once throughout the grass cutting season? Is there a need? I feel like we would need to cut more than once.
No, that through the chair, this includes 3 cuts. We made 3 cuts last year. When I say the cuts, that's how many we went each time. So that was 3 cuts. Not all properties require 3 cuts. Some, people get it after the first cut. Usually that happens a lot on the first cut of the year due to the rain season and different things like that. So people do start to address their properties by the time we get to the second and third cuts. So it doesn't mean that every property gets 3, but we do go out and do 3 mass cuts.
Okay, thank you. I think I was just reading your information.
Yes. I understand what you're saying, but that's total cuts.
Okay. Are there questions from anyone? Samantha?
Yes, thank you through the chair. So Mike, last year, this was for 50,000?
Through the chair, though, that's incorrect. That was through the 50,000 per. There was going to be 2 vendors that we were going to pay 50,000 each, up to $50,000, and then council had recommended that we use, and the mayor recommended that we use more vendors, so we reduced it to a total amount for the 4 vendors.
Okay, and then I remember the conversation about these being structures. This is where we have structures, not our main lots, or are they also cutting vacant lots as well?
Through the chair, no, this is strictly vacant properties with vacant structures on them. All of our vacant lots are done by the street department. On that list, you do see some it says special projects. Those are areas of the city, on most of it, which is on main corridors, where they're difficult for our tractors that the street department uses to cut lots, and situations where we try to clean up the properties where there's a lot of either dumping or something like that to clean up the areas. And as you can see, we only spent 53,000 last year. And the reason I'm asking for 80 is because I would like to do more of these special projects to keep our corridors cleaned up. And these are things that we can get done immediately. when we call a contractor to get them out there. When we get complaints, and like council had called last year on certain properties and things, that way we can get them out there right away to get these projects done.
Right, like cleaning up grass off the sidewalk when they cut it, stuff like that.
Yeah, that, and a lot of the properties that we do cut that are actually like this have a lot of litter, so it requires them to pick up a lot of cans and trash and things before they do the cutting and things. So that's why we have them do it, and they do a great job of getting it to us. And so,
Thank you. And just a question: do we own any equipment in the way of lawn equipment, lawnmowers, or things like that that our vendors may or may not use?
through the chair, no, we do not now. In the past, we had when we took it over from YNDC, but all of it has been either given to the park department, street department. That equipment is no longer in the grass cutting program possession. So we strictly send it out to the vendors. We don't pay anything other than the $30 per cut, or we double it up when a lot of the properties you can see are sometimes 2-3 foot high by the time we're able to get to them. So they have to brush hog it first and then go back and cut it again. So then we do pay them a double cut cost for that, because it is double work.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Mr. Durkin, do you have on hand the collection side of things? I know we bill out this. Do you know what our total collection was last year?
I do not have the collection numbers. However, those are constantly rolling, Councilwoman. They, we collected some last year from 2015 or 2014. By the time they go to court, in that type of thing. So our collection is not actually based on that specific year. It's what they collect that year for all of the properties that we send to them for collections. But I can get a number for you on what we collect each year, but it's not specific. So like right now, if we approve this for the 80,000 for 2021, we won't have a number what we collected for all the properties cut in 2021, because a lot of them will either get pushed forward, it'll go to the appeals board, they'll either get approved, removed, or it'll go to M&K for further collections.
Yeah, I guess I'd just like to see, how much we actually did collect last year, regardless if it matches up with the actual cuts that took place last year, just so that I can see how much is coming in the door year over year for this program.
Through the chair, I can actually get you the last 3 years, so I will get that to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
I'll get
Thank
that to
you.
everybody in council.
Anything else? Okay, I'm going to move on down to number 3. Questions on this? I don't see any. Move on to number 4. Questions on this one? Okay, number 5.
I have a question.
Samantha.
And it might be really just for both of these pieces, 4 and 5, for Chuck. So just I see that this is for administrating, and it's for, I'm sorry, my mind. This is for the actual project. Last week we did the cost for an administrator and to keep us in compliance. So my question is, why do we outsource this compliance piece or administrative piece? Is it something that can be done in-house?
Through the chair. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Chuck.
Yes, I can
Yes.
hear you.
Yeah.
Through the chair. This piece, I believe you're talking about the Crescent Street Bridge project, Councilwoman. Is that number 6 on the agenda?
Crescent Street and Front Street, the actual, this is for this to
No.
actually go out to
Oh,
bid.
okay.
Yeah, so
Okay,
I'm
through-
know about
I'll
the
explain.
side of it. Like, is there any, we can't do this in-house, and just why or why not? Just for clarity.
Through the chair, I guess, is it, I think it's 4 and 5 is the ones you're talking about. I'm on my phone. I can't see the agenda, but 4 and 5.
Yeah.
4 is the Front Street. 4 is the Front Street water line. We did the legislation for inspection and administration last week. This is for the actual construction. On number 5, it was the opposite. We did the project last week for entering into a contract, and this week is for inspection and administration. So to answer your question, in this particular case, this project, we're removing a bridge and we're going to replace it with a roadway. There's a lot of inspection with it because we have to watch the compaction on the roadway and so forth. So there's a little bit more oversight, but generally speaking, we don't have the staff to do that. But yeah, we are capable of doing that in-house if we added the people, but we have, Kadar is certainly capable of running the project. We just have a lot of projects, and we just don't have the people to do it. And frankly, on top of that, in some cases, we get paid from the state to administer the projects. In some cases, we don't. In this case, we wouldn't get paid for the Crescent Street Bridge project, but we are getting money for the contract. So it really wouldn't make sense to use in-house people if we're getting money to hire an outside consultant. We're not really, we're paying some of it, but we're not paying all of it. But generally speaking, like on the federal highway projects, we can actually make money doing our own inspection. So it is something I'm interested in looking at down the road a little bit for the inspector itself. But there's still testing and other contracts you need because we just don't have the capability to do nuclear density testing and stuff like that.
Thanks, Chuck. Any other questions on 4 or 5 for Chuck here? Okay. Item number 6. I just have a quick question here on this piece. It specifically says no in-kind match for a period July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2021. Does that mean that we're going to have a match at some point in time, or is that just the duration of is there never a match for this grant?
Through the chair, was that for me?
Well, it's your piece of legislation. Are you familiar with this grant?
Yeah, this is a grant for this is a law enforcement detail. We partnered with ATF to take guns off of the street.
Yeah, my question is just,
Yeah.
it specifically says no in kind on this piece of legislation for a period. Was it just written that way, or is there going to be in kind matching later? Like, or do we have to, are we gonna have money later that we have to match, or?
I don't have that
Am I just
answer, but
reading?
I can check with our fiscal officer, Sergeant Ronnie Barber, and get that answer for you.
Okay. Yeah, I might just be reading it incorrectly, but that's tripping me up. Thank you. And are there other questions here? Anita?
Yes, through the chair, this is for Cal. Cal, on this piece on item number 6, 34,099, that's for their wages. Would this be an overtime detail, and would we have to pick up their cost? No, we still have to match our portion for their pension and whatnot.
Through the chair, that is correct.
Okay,
Typically,
how much
when
would that
these-
be?
Well, it depends on if all of this is going to be earmarked for overtime. If all of it is, and it was all expended in the current calendar year, we would be on the hook for the 19.5%, which is the pension, and then 1.45%, which would be the Medicare.
So could you help me with the math, because I'm slow?
Sure, I'm
What is that?
going to use my adding machine, so I'm going to put you on mute for a second.
Okay, thank you.
I really like to hear the noise of the adding machine though, especially on the video. It's fun.
A little character to the meeting.
Yes. We got to get Kyle one of those visors, those green visors, so he could.
Through the chair, the combination of both would require us to fund an additional $7,300 in pension and Medicare.
I'm sorry, through the chair, I missed that dollar amount.
Approximately $7,300.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Anita.
For Chief Davis. Chief, does this have to be an overtime detail? Or can we utilize this during their regular working hours and like take it off of our, deduct it from our end of the budget?
Well, usually it was done it was the overtime detail. I guess we probably could work that out. I would have to speak with our staff inspector and I can get you an answer on that.
All right, thank you.
Samantha.
Thank you. Through the chair, Chief, this grant, I believe we receive this annual 34,000 from each year, I'm assuming. But when you read the language that was submitted with it, this is from Operation Steel Penguin in 2018. One thing that just gives me a little pause, and I think I probably have said it each time that this is coming in front of us, is it is targeted place-based enforcement that will be utilized for weapon suppression, saturation patrols with a specific targeting of those nuisance bars, establishments resulting in frequent police service calls, which have been associated with those possessing firearms. So how do we not profile in this? What's your, I want to hear kind of from you how we do not get into a place where we are creating criminals in our minority neighborhoods.
That's a good question. And, you know, I worked 5.5 years in internal affairs and I would often get that question. But under my administration as chief, we would not throw a dragnet over the entire city. We know who the players are. We know who they are, and they would be the individuals that we would that we would go after, as opposed to just throwing a dragnet over the entire city. Someone coming home from church, maybe being stopped because that area is being saturated with, you know, with police stopping everyone. We would not approach it like that. We would go specifically after the guys that we know are engaged in this type of activity.
Thank you. I'm hopeful in us working out a process that is equitable across the city.
Okay.
Other questions?
The chair.
Julius?
Thank you. I guess, Chief, my question to Samantha's point would be, based on what you just said, if we know who they are, why do we need the program? Or why do we need to put this in place if we know who they are? Might be a stupid question, but I'm just, if we know who they are, why do we need to launch a whole program if we could just go get who they are?
Okay, well, that still requires you know, some work, you know, maybe some surveillance, you know, monitoring, you know, where they're going, where they're coming from, who they're associating with. You know, it involves a little bit of some intelligence work. So yeah, there's, you know, I wish it was just as simple as just saying, well, we know who you are. We're going, you know, we're going to come after you. No, it takes a little bit more than that, you know. Like I said, maybe, you know, some surveillance and some things like that require, you know, a little bit more.
Okay, just follow up. I'm thinking to myself, if we know who they are, that could definitely kind of reduce the chances of profiling and, you know, creating issues where there are none possible. Just just a statement. Thank you, Chief.
Gotcha.
Anything else? Okay. So number 7 is questions here. And number 8. And number 9, questions on this. Julius?
Thank you, through the chair. Just wondering if somebody could give a, kind of a brief breakdown or explanation of number 9.
Harry, do you
Okay,
know
that's
what's
me.
going on there?
Oh yeah, that's me. I had to get my my mute button off. So
Yep.
through the chair. So the first thing I want to do is apologize because this piece probably should have been introduced to council when you guys approved the union contract, but we weren't ready. We were still working out some of the details with the job description, and we weren't quite ready to post the position at that particular point in time. But this was something that we agreed upon during contract negotiations. I initially wanted to make this a union position. I'm sorry, 2 management positions, but through new negotiations, I agree with the union to make it union positions to give the meter readers an opportunity to bid into the positions because their job's going away. But what I want council to look at these positions, these 2 are replacing 9. At the height of our meter reading process, we had 9 meter readers. And over the years, as we installed more of our radio reads and new smart meters, we've needed less and less. So we're down to 3. And we're transitioning from a reactive operation to a proactive operation. We can manipulate the system to send us particular alerts about if a person is using too much water, if a person's stealing water, et cetera, a number of different things. These 2 positions will handle that capacity for the water department as far as the system and those alerts that will be, fed back to us in the customer service department. And also wanted to point out that I want to say we've saved about a little over $300,000 through this implementation. This gives us an opportunity to better service our customers. And in these positions that we're replacing, the meter reader positions, they pay $46,000. These 2 positions only pay, as you can see, $40,000. Of course, the union wasn't happy about that, but I could in good conscience pay them more than the manager that is responsible for the position, because that individual, he only makes 46. So in a nutshell, these 2 positions are replacing our meter readers. And we're, again, within 60 days of me giving them a letter, letting them know that we don't have any more work for them in that capacity. I have an actual date. I don't want to put it out there in the public domain because I haven't officially given them that letter, although I have had a conversation with them to let them know that, their jobs are coming to an end. But again, I haven't given them that specific date. But, we're within 60 days of that happening. Does that make sense?
Anita?
Thank you, Mr.
Through the chair. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Anita.
Yeah, Harry.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
there are currently 3 meter readers?
Through the chair. Yes, ma'am. We are down to 3 meter readers from a height of 9. We're down to 3, and we're really struggling to give them work. We're actually kind of doing a little bit of a hybrid, playing with the system. We already kind of have them doing some of this work so that once we flip the switch, we know exactly what we'll be doing. But yeah, we're down to 3 meter readers at
And
this
are
point.
would are those positions coming off of the salary, the master salary list?
No, they're not coming off. We could, but that's something we would have to negotiate. And for some reason, the union just, even though you're not filling the position, they like to keep those positions on the master salary ordinance. I don't know why that is. We have a number of positions on the master salary ordinance that aren't filled. Like a stenographer is on our master salary ordinance. So that's something they just I don't know why they don't like to eliminate those positions. But the position will not be filled come the next 60 days.
So, but we are recreating these two positions.
Correct. We're creating
for
these
the
two
union.
positions because these positions are. I think I included the job description with the ordinance. It's completely different than the meter readers. All they did was pretty much they got a device. They went out, put the device up to the monitor, read the reads, came back, put it on the docking station. That was it. What they're going to be doing now is a lot more analytical. They're going to be involved in, again, managing the accounts, managing territory. What are the alerts telling me? How do I need to troubleshoot these problems? So it's a lot more involved in what they've been doing, for however long they've been doing the job. It's a lot more involved. But again, it makes us more efficient. It allows us to react to customers' problems like, leaks. And it also allows us to react to anybody that's stealing water. Those are the main two things that I know of as far as these jobs will be doing.
I understand. My thing is, if you have three, we're only creating two, where's that third person going to go?
They have two options. They can bump somebody in a lower classification, or, of course, post these positions. They can post into these positions. To answer your question, I had a conversation recently with the mayor. We need to hire some laborers, and we need 3 laborers right now. But I talked to the mayor and I said that maybe 2, because if you guys approve these positions, 2 of them can post into these 2 positions, and that'll give at least one of those 3 the opportunity to bump down into the laborer pool. So that's the game plan. So even in creating these positions, we're not adding to our overall workforce.
Well, we're not in physically, but we are adding to the salary list. And
No, you're not.
We're not?
You said
Because
salary.
we're not eliminating, are we? We're not eliminating the 9 spots, but we're creating these 2 spots.
Well, that's something that, again, you would have to negotiate and then have to go through the process of going to serve, to have the positions removed from the union, the union's contract, the union contract, and then the master salary ordinance. Just like that document that I included, upon if council approves this, we have to go back and, file with SERB to add these 2 positions. And you got to do the same thing on the opposite end. Again, that's something that, for whatever reason that the union doesn't like to do, but there will not be a person, if council doesn't approve this, they'll just go into other positions. There will not be meter readers come April 15th.
Okay. Through the chair.
Go ahead, Anita.
A follow to Attorney Lembian. So Jeff, will we need to be concerned about someone with these positions being there, trying to bump into that position from a lower position? Are we leaving ourselves open in any way?
Through the chair, I can answer that question.
Okay, Harry.
Yeah.
Harry?
Well, in the contract, management we have the right to manage the operation as we see fit.
Okay.
So that's our management right. I'm telling you, that's not going to happen. They can't post into a job that's sitting there if we don't have any work for them. We are under no obligation to put somebody in a position where there's no work for them.
Gotcha.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike?
Thank you. Harry, through the chair, does that mean that the new meters were far enough along with those that they're not requiring reading to do, or is that why we hit
Yeah, well,
project?
Okay, yeah, through the chair. That was a good question, Mike. So just to give you some statistical data real quick, we have about 23,000 actual smart meters in the system right now. Because of the COVID, we had to be a little nimble. We had to redirect our efforts. So, and instead of doing the installation where we put in it's called MXU, but it's the radio device. It's the box on the outside. So instead of, because I restricted anybody going into homes during that period, we decided to just go ahead and install all the radio devices on the outside of the homes in the system. Right now, we're at 47,000. We have 52,000. We anticipate we'll be done with all of the installations for the radios on the outside by mid-March, approximately. So right now, and we got just this month, we had a penetration of 95%, as far as actual reads in January. To give you a historical context, I've been here 15 years. That has never happened. We're typically at somewhere between 17 and 25%. So we're already seeing some of the benefits of having those radios up. I know I gave you a lot of information there, but I wanted you to have as much information as possible. But the bottom line is we don't need them. Everything, 47,000 reads are being read by the tower system at this point.
Through the chair, may I have a follow-up?
Go ahead, Mike. Mhm.
Through the chair. Harry, so to get that straight, we have 23,000 meters in. We read about 52,000, but this device that we put out on the outside works with the old meters as well, and that allows us to use the radio network to do the readings.
Through the chair, that is correct, because that's correct. I can give you more information, but you probably want to hear it. To answer your question, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Any more questions for Harry here? Okay. Okay, we'll move down to the ordinances signed out of committee here. Ordinance 20-60. Questions here. There's a request for a yes vote to defeat on these. Nikki, can you, I'm sorry, no, we've been meeting for a year on these things in very long meetings. So on this particular one, I just want to make sure I understand it fully. This is the position that Beverly's in right now, and it's Community Development Director. I thought we were changing the title to be Community Development Director, but the type and like kind of dropping off the planning
through the chair
of that title. Go ahead.
The title was already Community Development Director, but it had a planning component in the job description. So the reason that I made this initial request was because at the same time, I was also requesting a planner. And to make all of the salaries the same, having that planner separated out of the job description would fulfill that obligation. So since we didn't do that, I'm just requesting to defeat this and the second request.
And so, but you still removed planning from the job responsibilities and gave it to, that's the Hunter contract, correct?
Correct. Through the chair, correct.
Okay, so we still did the same thing that you wanted to do. So I guess I don't understand why, like, if your reasoning was to remove planning, so that's why from her job description, which is why we were lowering the salary from this position.
Mm-hmm.
And we still did that. We just didn't do it in the manner of creating an in-house position. We just outsourced the position. Why do you not want to still follow through with adjusting the salary?
Through the chair, the reason why is because the initial request to reduce the salary was prior to Beverly being confirmed through civil service in that position. She was confirmed in the position after the testing expired, and it's been almost a year now. So that's why I just thought, we've already been paying her at the $4,000 more. So I just nixed the whole thing because we didn't make the changes prior to her going into that position. So now she's been working at that salary for almost a year, and now we're going to reduce it after the fact, when the initial request was before she was even confirmed in a position.
So how come then? I guess this could have all been cleared up last year in
Yes,
February when we
through the chair.
started meeting about this. And it should have been done then. And that was part of the agreement of outsourcing to Hunter, at least in my mind, right? I was okay paying Hunter because we were adjusting here. So now if you want to renew Hunter's contract again, I guess I still don't. Yeah, I mean, I get, like, personally, it's probably not personally great. But if we're just talking about your reasoning and finances, it still makes sense to do, if that's still the plan. I guess, I'm a little frustrated because we've been talking about it for a year in very long meetings, and we're at the table now with something and it's still nothing.
Through the chair, I share that frustration. Yes, this was the initial request, was to reduce the salary prior to her being confirmed into that position so that we can move forward with Hunter's contract. And again, this year for 2021, I need to ask to renew Hunter's contract, and we're still here.
Okay, so no progress. Disappointing. I'm disappointed in this situation that we're at, but that's more comment. Julius, do you have your hand up?
Thank you, through the chair. So the position that Beverly is currently being paid to do now is the former position of Bill Davion in Tehran, correct?
Through the chair, that is correct.
So
Without the planning component. The planning component was adjusted out, which was part of this whole request.
okay, so which is why we got Hunter in place, right? So did that position also hold the land banking duties?
The planning portion, yes, the land bank was under planning. Under the planner, correct.
Okay,
Those land bank duties reported to Bill.
and now those duties were given to Karen Perkins.
Karen
Right.
already had, through the chair, I'm sorry, Karen was already doing those duties under Bill.
Okay. Okay, that's it. How much was Bill Davion and Tehran making? What was their salary? If anybody knows, they had planning in their backgrounds, right? They had degrees for that, or was it just under their job description?
Through the chair, I would have to get back to you on that one, Councilman. I'm not sure. I can check with Kyle and Jonathan with what their
Tehran had urban planning.
qualifications were.
I think that's what his degree was in. Thank you. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Through the chair, I can answer that question.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Okay, I'm looking at the 2016 budget document, and at the time, Mr. Davion was making 74,000, 256,000. And just give me a minute. I gotta go to a different year to look up what we were paying Tehran. 1 second. All right. Just give me a second. We were paying him $74,998. in 18 if he had been unemployed for a full calendar year.
Right, and both Bill and Teron both had planning within their job description and in their background, having degrees and experience in that. And they made less than the current position without planning, which is why we hired Hunter and pay him additional for the planning aspect. So nothing, like I said, nothing against Beverly or anything, but I'm just trying to eat with land banking in there as well. But I'm just wondering, why do we keep it where it's at when, I mean, it's a lot that got to happen in economic development, and there's other raises that didn't happen. I just think we got everything part to make this work correctly with economic development. So it does Beverly have the planning aspect?
Through the chair. Beverly does not have a planning background, which is why I proposed a year ago to reduce the salary before she was confirmed into the position. Since we didn't do that, that's the reason why I'm asking now to just scrap it, because we didn't do it a year ago. If it's the pleasure of council to move this to reduce the salary, that that would be up to you. But my initial
about the pleasure of council is what is your reasoning for paying more than people that had those experiences and degrees to be able to do the full encompassing of the job? Like, what is your reasoning?
The reason is because when I introduced this a year ago, before she was in the position, we put it in committee for a year.
And that was because we were trying to figure out the litigation with Teron and how that was going to happen, right? That wasn't because we couldn't make a decision. That was because it was a lawsuit pending.
Through the chair, and I believe our law department answered that question at one of the CPEC committee meetings, that it had no bearing on whether or not we move forward with the restructure plan.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Basha.
Thank you, through the chair. I just want to gain a little bit of clarity. Kyle said that previously Bill and Teron, I believe he said 74,000 and some odd dollars. But on this ordinance, it says that the position is 76,000. So were they actually paid less than what the position called for, or was it changed to 76 once Teron came on board? Like,
I guess now, yes. When I first looked up the salary, I went to calendar year 16 because I started, and in 17, that position along with the management raises, that's what it took. It went up to then the 76,883.87. I just didn't start there. If I had opened that document up, that's where it would have been. I was just trying to find him when he was on our payroll and budget, and I chose a year. But he ultimately got promoted and then retired from that position.
Okay, thank you.
Got promoted, he got a raise and then retired from that position.
Okay, thank you.
Anita.
To the chair. Other than the fact that it was sitting there for a year, what is the justification for greater pay for less work?
Through the chair, there isn't one, which is why I presented to reduce it prior to Beverly being confirmed into the position.
Okay, through the chair.
Go ahead, Anita.
To Attorney Lemon or whoever might have information, is there a reason why we can't reduce it now? Anyone?
Through the chair.
Jeff.
Thank you. Through the chair, with the appropriate legislation, you can take whatever action you feel is appropriate in terms of, creating a new position, changing the salary of a position. Absolutely.
Thank you. Through the chair, one other question from Ms. Costley. Yeah, Nikki, see what, throughout the year, there was the expectation that the salary was going to be reduced. Correct?
Through the chair, that is correct.
So if we do it now, that's not a surprise. It's not catching anybody off guard. We're just doing what was expected all along. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Samantha?
Your Honor, quick question. It does say amended to, although this is being sent out of committee with a yes vote to defeat, it does say reduced to 72. So because she doesn't have the background in planning, that's why it's being reduced to 72, correct?
Through the chair, yes. It was no longer being proposed as a combined position.
Okay. All right. So she would still be the community development director at the lower salary rate of 72,000. Which
Through the
would,
chair, that's correct.
okay. And so the last one in 2018, the salary was at 79,000 when Terrell, was that 79, Cal? In 2018, where did I say? I wrote it somewhere. Cal, what was that for 2018, the last salary for that position?
I'm looking it back up. I closed it just 1 second.
It was 76,998.
That's correct. It's what it was the salary that is currently on the master salary.
Okay, and that 76, we're minusing the planning portion of it, and with Hunter doing that planning portion, those funds are coming out of CDBG, correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, all right. So, and Beverly has other skills that are specific to CDBG funding and all of the compliance in that, which makes up for other things that she's missing out, which is planning.
Through the chair, that is correct.
I'm just trying to get some clarity. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or points, Anita?
To the chair. So relative to other cities of our size and our situation, is this 72,398, is that comparable?
Through the chair, I would have to, I can reach out to other cities to see what their community development directors in that position currently make. I can do that, and I'll respond back to council.
Through the chair, can you get it? I know this is short notice, but before tomorrow's meeting, you know?
I will work on that. Through the chair.
Your Honor.
Through the chair.
Liz?
Thank you. So, Nikki, you guys are still going to come back with another proposal to still create another position for land banking as well, right?
Through the chair, it was requested at the, I think yourself, Councilman, requested that we update the zoning analyst position to incorporate those land bank duties. And so I've already had a meeting with civil service to include those land bank duties that were not created for the position that Karen is doing in those zoning analyst position duties.
But at one time, all that was combined within the position we're currently speaking of.
Through the chair, yes. Karen is a zoning analyst on paper per master salary. However, for the past, 3-4 years maybe, Karen has been solely functioning as our only land bank employee for a position that was never created. There's not a land bank position created on the master salary. So because Karen is retiring, what I wanted to do was create the position for the work that she is doing and has been doing for 3 to 4 years.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, I do not mean to throw in a curveball, but as of January 1, that salary was raised from 76,872. It is now 77,653 and some cents because of the 1% management raise. So if you are going to potentially adjust this, you need to take into consideration that if you lower it based on where it was last year, that we still need to then adjust it by 1% and correctly reward her for the fact that all management got a 1% raise. So I would like you to be aware of that, that taking her back to 72, 398, 56 would in essence be reducing her salary when she would deserve a 1% off of that. So we can calculate that for tomorrow as a baseline. And then based on what Ms. Pashley provides you, you can use that as a comparison.
Julius.
Thank you, through chair. I don't know if Beverly's on the call or not, but I just want Beverly to know this has really nothing to do with you yourself. I just want to make sure economic development is getting to the position where we can be adequately functional for the city to be able to move forward. I just want everything to be working the way it's supposed to work. So nothing to do with you personally, Beverly. So just in case you was wondering.
Mike?
I just want to, through the chair, I just want to make sure you understand that it's community development rather than economic development. I just wanted to make that correction.
Mike?
Yes, through the chair. Community Development Director, which is primarily, if I'm asking for a clarification on a question, is CDA Director, correct? That's what that position is doing, which, is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct.
Okay, so I would also say, I think Anita asked the question about, is that salary in line? I believe there's a certain amount of those funds that you can allocate towards administration. So I think there are some guidelines, in fact, right, with the amount of funds, a certain amount of CDA funds, CDBG funds is allowed for administration, correct?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct. And that entire salary is paid for through CDBG dollars.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Basha?
Thank you, through the chair. One more question from me. Regarding the planning position that Hunter is doing right now, I know since it's a contract, we're paying through the CBDG funding right now, but when I know our goal is eventually to actually make that an in-house position, at that time, can that salary still also be paid from the CBDG?
Through the chair, we had, in working with our finance director at the time, we had allocated $50,000 of CDBG funds towards this salary and the rest through general.
Okay, thank you. I recall now. Thank you.
Samantha?
Quick search. The average CDA salary for the state of Ohio is $121,000. Now that's not city specific, but that's just for the state overall. That helps.
Through the chair.
I think you have to look at job duties there versus job duties that we're requiring too. I mean, that's to throw out a number like that. I think there's a lot of variables that need to be taken into consideration.
Today and tomorrow for her to lay out job duties and salaries. It's an expectation, but it's a high. I'm just saying overall over the state of Ohio for that job title, community development director, it's 121. So you can drill it down more by city and by job duties, but I'm just that's just quick search and to help you get you going on that, Nikki. Thank you for making that happen.
Nikki, you've had this number of 72,000, on paper for a year now. So you had to have had some type of rhyme or reason for why you picked that number.
Through the chair, the reason I picked that number is because I wanted to be consistent with the economic development director. And if we were splitting into 3 divisions, those division directors' salary would be comparable.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Basha?
Thank you for the chair. So comment, and I guess maybe question to our clerk. So what it sounds like is that perhaps council is not looking to defeat that, but rather go forward with it. So would we be able to make a motion from this committee to forward it for consideration of passage and omitting the yes vote to defeat?
A good friend. Yeah,
Mike, do you?
yeah, no, I mean, when we do the legislation, we could, you know, if the yes vote is to defeat, we always vote in the affirmative, or we would not be voting yes to defeat. We would just put it on there for passage. So.
Anita?
To the chair, what is the dollar amount that, Basha, that you're looking at? Passing.
I'm looking at to, instead of defeating the ordinance, passing it to change the salary to the 72,398 and 56 cents that was proposed for the last year,
Plus the 1%.
plus the 1%.
Okay, so we're looking at 73,120, somewhere in that area. 73,001 something.
Through the chair, we will verify,
Kyle?
we will verify tomorrow because it goes up 4 digits, and we will provide that to Valencia so that she has the correct 4-digit decimal place figure by taking that total and multiplying it times the 1%, so that mirrors up to what we would have in our payroll system. And we'll make sure that she has that. But it's in that ballpark that you just said of $73,122 and so much cents. But we'll make sure that we have the correct number for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are we comfortable, good? Any other questions or points of discussion for 20-60? Okay. Move down to 20-61 then. Also being requested as a yes vote to defeat, and I think we kind of covered this a little bit in the last discussion. Basha?
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to make a comment that the only reason we're asking to defeat it is so that it doesn't sit in CPED committee, since currently we have Hunter contract in that position. So then we stated at the CPED meeting that we were going just to revisit that at a later time. So at this time it would need to be defeated, so it just doesn't sit there endlessly.
Okay. So anything else here? Okay, our last piece then here, 13-42. I believe this is a soup. They look like a really old piece, Basha.
So, thank you through the chair. For the same reasoning, this one was actually sitting in committee since before our first term. So we're just kind of cleaning it up, and it just yes vote to defeat. And at a later time, if CPED committee wants to revisit something similar, I mean, we can take it, ask the law department to draft something similar and consider at that time.
Okay. All right, that's the full agenda. Is there anything under miscellaneous?
My good friends.
From anybody? I don't have any.
Lauren?
Chuck?
Through the chair, thank you. I just wanted to remind city council to check their emails, that they got the resurfacing packets, and that the streets are due back to my office on March 19th. Unfortunately, I don't have any time to take any more questions on that right now, but feel free to call me tomorrow. That's all I got.
Tomorrow.
Thanks, Chuck. Have a safe flight. Anyone else have anything under miscellaneous? Mike?
Just jumping back up through the chair, ordinance 20-60, I guess that would be if the pleasure of the committee is to amend and suspend. So changing that from a yes vote to defeat, because we'd amend it and then we'd suspend the rules for passage.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anyone else have miscellaneous? Okay. I will take a motion then. Basha, did you have a motion?
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, I would like to make a motion to forward ordinances 2 through 9 to the council floor for consideration of passage.
Second.
I would like to make a motion to forward ordinance 20-60 with an amendment to the council floor for consideration of passage.
Second.
And I would like to make an additional motion to forward ordinances 20-61 and ordinance 13-42 to the council floor for consideration of defeat with an affirmative vote.
The motion to defeat. Second.
Yes.
Okay. I will take a motion to adjourn then.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned at 5:30.